It's so hot today. Welcome back, you guys. So I said in my updates video that I was saving all my Hoyas for their own dedicated updates video because I have a lot of updates to show, some good, some bad, and it's been a while since I've done like an exclusively Hoyas video, so I left filming so late today that like the afternoon sun is just kind of beating through this window right now, and I'm really feeling a little bit lethargic. I have my ceiling fan on, so hopefully you're not hearing that in the background. But anyway, I have 15 Hoyas to show today, I believe. I did a quick count, but I've forgotten what I counted. But I'm pretty sure I have 15 Hoyas to show you guys today. Some are good, some are bad. All are updates. I'm gonna sprinkle the bad kind of throughout just to kind of keep you guys on your toes a little bit, but they're just kind of general updates on a lot of my Hoyas, and I'll tell you a little bit about what I've been doing to take care of them. All of these Hoyas here live in my IKEA Milsbo cabinet, so if you haven't seen the video where I kind of set that up as a Hoya-exclusive cabinet, I'll link the video in the description. If I'm able to find footage for each of the Hoyas for what it used to look like when I first showed it on my channel, I will do that. So my channel started January 1st, so it would have been maximum of like 6 months of growth for each of these Hoyas. So I think that's all for the intro. By the way, if anyone's interested in this shirt, this is from Jing's plant shop, Plant Happens, so I'm going to obviously link it in the description. She's got this shirt in a bunch of different colors now. It keeps changing and she keeps adding colors, so I'm not sure exactly right now what colors are available, but it's more than just this navy one. She also has a new Hoya shirt style in stock, which I'm gonna grab from her maybe next week, so I'm really excited for that one. I'll be wearing that in a future video as well, but I'll make sure I link both of those Hoya shirts in the description because they're just good shirts. I just love wearing plant shirts that nobody but a plant person would understand is a plant shirt. So these Hoyas are gonna be in no particular order because I kind of just shoved them all on this table here, and there's vines everywhere. I can't really pick them out in a nicely curated list, so I'm just gonna start grabbing. So this first Hoya is one that I was excited to show because it's been such a weirdo. And I'm gonna try not to show you the newest leaves. Okay, so this is my Hoya vitellinoides. This I got from Jing about 1.5 years ago or something. It's grown, I believe, 3 leaves for me, and they've been like kind of weird and frilly like this, these ones at the front here. And I've been growing it in pond. It's flowered for me at least twice, maybe 3 times. Yeah, it's one of those like veiny Hoyas that I've been really enjoying. It kind of stopped growing foliage for a little bit, and then it started to vine again. I think one of the vines that it had put out kind of dried out. You know how Hoyas kind of have those dried out vines sometimes? At one point, this used to live really close to a grow light, and then I moved it down a level, kind of farther away from a grow light, and the new leaf that it put out is like unbelievably different. So yeah, that's the new leaf. Grown about 1.5 feet away from the grow light. What the heck? Is this even the same plant? It's so incredibly dark, it's massive, and the veining obviously is not as prominent because it's so dark. And it's also a lot thinner. Like I believe this is kind of fully expanded at this point because it's been growing for so long, but like the leaves of these ones are much thicker and harder, and this one is just a lot more pliable, as you can see. It's still got that frilly edge, but like what? I've never seen a Hoya look like this before. And I've kind of searched the tag on this plant, and I haven't seen ones that look like this either. I know it's like a very wildly variable species, but yeah, I just thought I'd show this one because it's just the weirdest leaf growth I've ever had on a Hoya. And it's got another vine here that vined up closer to a grow light, and it's looking a lot more similar to these leaves here. So I know it's a light thing, but I didn't realize that the variation can be like that drastic. So I'm just gonna put the 2 new leaves side by side there. It's just so cool. Plants are so cool. I'm not gonna spend too much time on each plant because I do have 15 plants to get through. The next Hoya is one that people have been asking about. This is the import that I got this year. I potted it up in one of my import videos. I'll link that in the description as well. It was the only Hoya I got in that one order for the spring. So this is my Hoya hypolasia. So you guys wanted to know if it's doing okay. I mean, it's doing okay. It's still alive, which is more than I can say for my last hypolasia, which died. It's got like a cluster of something growing here. So it appears that it's trying to grow foliage, and I do see root growth. So I'll show you some root growth here and right in the corner here. I am tentatively hopeful for this Hoya because I've killed one before. Jing has also killed one before, at least, have I only killed one? I think I've killed at least one. As far as I understand, these aren't like the easiest Hoyas. They're a little bit on the finickier side. So I'm not going to get my hopes up too much for this one, but so far it's still alive. And I'll show you another picture here of kind of how they kind of look like. They remind me a little bit of Anthurium pallidiflorum because it's got that like fuzziness that kind of mimics a velvety leaf, and it has those little dimples similar to a pallidiflorum as well. Yeah, I really love this Hoya, but I'm kind of holding off putting all my love and care into it because I just don't want my heart broken when this dies potentially. So yeah, happy to report it's still alive, but it hasn't really been doing anything since I got it, which was at least three months ago or so. Okay, so if you watched my Hoya cabinet video, I kept dropping this one plant. Oh my goodness, stop it. So I had my Hoya callistophylla and my Hoya, don't tell me, I know the name, clemenciorum, in like a shelf that's hanging off a grid near to the top, and that shelf wasn't super stable. So anytime I bumped into anything in that cabinet, or if I like stomped too loudly, the plant would fall. So I actually dropped that plant in that video. I caught it, but it damaged the plant. It happened at least one more time after that. So that's my Hoya callistophylla. I think in one of my first Hoya videos, I showed this plant, and it was a 2-leafer that I got from Jing. It was crazy rooted, and it just wasn't growing for me. It just wasn't putting out any foliage, and I was confused because Charmaine got a cutting at the same time I did, and hers pretty much started growing right away. But anyway, I'm happy to report that my Hoya callistophylla is finally growing foliage. So this was one of the original leaves. I freaking love this plant. And this one is the one that got damaged from falling so much. So here's that big crack. I do think that like falling from that shelf like 2 or 3 times in a row definitely shocked the plant and kind of paused it a little bit, but I'm happy to report that it's started growing a bunch of foliage now. So it's put out 2 leaves that are fully hardened. So there's one right there, and the other one of that pair is this one here. And then it's now putting out a whole bunch of leaves that aren't fully hardened. So this one still super soft. These 2 up here. And then there's one coming up on the vine here, and a little one that looks like it's gonna be aborted here. So that one's probably not gonna make it. But I'm really happy that it's finally growing, because it's just one of those like kind of dumpstery reptilian Hoyas that I really love. And it's been fairly easy going, I guess. Like, it's rooted really easily, and it takes up water really consistently. I've never had to really like think too much about this Hoya. It just didn't grow for a little while, but now that it's growing, I have a feeling that it's going to be pretty consistent. So I'm really excited that this one's finally putting out foliage, and I'm hoping that it puts out more splashy foliage, because I find that like when these leaves like this have more splash, they look so beautiful with that really dark venation and like how super hard they are. So I know there's a whole bunch of varieties of callistophylla. I think this one is long leaf, large leaf. I know it's not short leaf, that's all I know. And I definitely have a really soft spot for really giant leafed Hoyas and really just like succulent, waxy, thick, hard Hoyas with like big venation. So this one just ticks all the boxes for me. So happy to report this one is finally growing. This is just one of those examples of Hoyas you're gonna see a lot today that desperately needs a trellis. It's just that I don't want to put them on one of those wire trellises so much. So I'm waiting to find maybe someone local who will do trellises, but I'm kind of not in too much of a hurry because it's just spending that I can't super justify right now. I'm just kind of like letting them vine all over the place, like they're vining all at the top of the cabinet and around each other and going between shelves and stuff. And yeah, I'm just letting it happen for now, and I'll just have to deal with the consequences later. But I don't want to keep growing them like this. I do want to have the cabinet a little bit more organized and a bit more contained, but this is the theme of my Hoya cabinet. It's just freaking vines everywhere. Okay, let's do a sad one. This one I barely showed, I think, in one of my first Hoya videos, I think. I didn't really talk about it too much. This is my Hoya rinozii Borneo. I'm here to report it still has done nothing, absolutely nothing. I hear that they're a little bit on the finickier side and they're kind of easy to kill. I mean, I haven't killed it. It has rooted. I got this at least a year ago. It has a really long stem and it's rooted a bit. It's hard to see the roots, but there's some like kind of algae ridden roots in here. And I'm not super motivated to do anything about repotting this. So if anyone's like a master at growing rinozii Borneo, let me know how you're growing it and like what kind of conditions and substrates and things like that. Because I don't really know what I'm doing with Hoyas that much. I kind of just do what Jing tells me to do, and I grow everything semi-hydro and pon and hope for the best. And I've been spraying actually all of my Hoyas with the Miracle Grow Orchid Spray. I'll link that, but I'm sure everyone's seen it. It's just all over the place in like Home Depot, garden centers and stuff like that. I've been spraying them all and I don't know if it's that or if it's the Great White or if it's the heat of the summer, but all of the Hoyas are kind of exploding. But this is one of the ones that is just refusing to do anything whatsoever. So I do really love this Hoya. This was definitely a wishlist Hoya for me when I got it. I got it from Crystal Star Nursery, as you can see from the plant tag. I just find it to be such a handsome Hoya. It's just so very structured and the splashes can look like very just pretty, and that like hue that they have and like the margin around the leaf and the shape of them, I find them just very handsome. And it makes me sad that this one's not growing, but I hear all the time that they're a little bit easy to kill. So a little bit stumped. I should probably do more research on this one, but here I am, not doing research on it. Yeah, I just wanted to show one that's doing absolutely nothing, and if anyone has good success for it, please leave it in the comments because I would love some encouragement or, you know, some direction as to what might be doing wrong with this plant. So this next one is my pride and joy Hoya. It's my Hoya CV Joy Splash that I got from Jing. I got it as a one leafer earlier this year. I don't really remember exactly when. Early spring, I want to say. It rooted really easily and it had this really long vine when I got it, but that long vine really hasn't done anything. So I wanted to show you guys what it looks like now. It's grown so much. So this down here is the original leaf that I showed. It's actually gotten a lot lighter in color because I think I'm growing it a lot closer to grow light than Jing does. I probably need to pull it away from the light a little bit more so it kind of retains that juicy dark color that Jing's plant has, since I believe she's growing hers quite a bit farther from the grow light than I am. Mine's like maybe 6 inches away from a grow light. So this is the first leaf that it put out in my care. It's also got that half moon splash going on here. And then since then it's put out this one, which is like really splashy. And then these two here, oop, I'm hitting the mic with the vine. These two here are still growing, still really soft and still expanding. I've gotten a few questions about the CV Joy Splash and how I get it to be this splashy, and the answer to that is that I don't do anything. It's the genetics on this plant. So I will put in a photo of Jing's mother plant and cuttings that she's taken from that plant. Oh my goodness. I've gotten another CV Joy imported before. It wasn't nearly as splashy. Granted, I think I killed that one. So I feel like it's hard to find a CB Joy splash that has the genetics to put out so much splash. And I know that like any Hoya, pretty much any Hoya has the potential to put out splash and become splashy, but this one just has the genetics to be super splashy just right from the get-go. So this one is one of my favorite Hoyas in my entire collection because it's just so beautiful. It's just fat and round and juicy looking, and it's got beautiful splash, and it also has this like cute black margin around the leaves. You can see on that one. So my next move with this one was definitely, well, I need a trellis for it, first of all. This one just kind of like curled on itself and like taped closed, and this new vine is, it's definitely going places. The other thing I need to do is pull it away from the light a little bit more and get it to look that dark green, shiny, like this is definitely a lot lighter than when I first acquired this plant, this one right here. I'll put it side by side with a photo of a cutting Jings recently took, and yeah, they don't look anywhere close to the same. So that's my next move with this plant, just get it into lower light conditions. But otherwise, I'm very happy to report it's doing really nicely. This one is living in my mixture of pond, perlite, orchiata, a bit of leca. Also gets the orchid spray, of course. Everything pretty much in my entire cabinet gets sprayed down once every like 2 weeks or so. And I'm hoping that in darker conditions, it'll also put out larger leaves too, like the way that my vitellinoides put out that massive dark leaf. Let's do another splashy one. So this one I showed in another video, I don't remember when. I think it was like my plant success stories video. This is my Hoya polyneura brogue, which I got from my friend Carmen as a 2-leafer. So I first showed it in my substrates video where I potted it up in pond, and it was just a little 2-leafer. One of those leaves has fallen off. It was kind of yellowing from the start. It started growing, and now it's kind of just been growing nonstop. So here's what it looks like now. Ah! And it's freaking heck. It's grown 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 leaves since it's grown 9 leaves since I got it, and it's kind of been one of those ones, kind of like linearis, where once it's like rooted, it will just kind of continuously put out leaves, and it's a pretty fast grower. If you have polyneura, you'll probably say the same thing. I hear this a lot about polyneura, and I don't think that like the silver or splashiness of this one really slows it down too much. I'm waiting for it to branch off so I can have more than just this like one vine of them, but it's so beautiful. Once again, it's in my normal pond mix with orchiata and perlite, and it gets sprayed down. It's fairly close to grow light, and it's starting to kind of like trail downwards, so it's not like growing towards the light anymore, which is nice. This was one of my wish list Hoyas for sure, and I'm really happy to have it. I don't find this Hoya difficult at all, not even to root or get going. Like I feel like it just kind of like all happened fairly effortlessly, and I do highly recommend this Hoya if you're able to grab one. I don't think they're very expensive anymore, and because they kind of grow so quickly, I feel like it's probably a good one to get because it's just satisfying. Some Hoyas grow so slowly, and it's just nice to have one that's like a nice steady grower. They are a little bit more on the thirstier side, I find. Like they're a little bit more closer to the water uptake of like an aroid versus like something like very succulent. Like, I don't know, one of my like hard leaf Hoyas, like Fuaensis, for example. This one I find that I have to water a little bit more often. Same with my New Guinea Ghost. These like thinner leaf Hoyas do take up a little bit more water, which is fine. If you're scared of overwatering Hoyas, this one is definitely one that's a little bit harder to overwater. I didn't kind of realize how much I would really love this plant. Even though it was on my wish list, I didn't realize how much I would actually love this plant until this point, really. Like I was like excited about it when I got it, and when it was growing, it was really fun. But then like now that it's really starting to look fishtaily, I'm like more in love with it than ever. So yeah. Also, I don't know what the difference is between polyneura brogue and polyneura silver. So if I'm not identifying it correctly, sorry. I don't know if I would have shown this one before. I think I must have, but I probably didn't spend much time talking about it. This is my Hoya obovata variegated. These 2 leaves down here were import leaves. I imported this sometime last year and it hasn't been doing amazing for me, I want to say. Like, I took a cutting, I gave it to Charmaine, and this was the bottom of it, and it hasn't done a lot for me. Like, this is leaf that it grew in my care, and it dropped a couple of like higher variegated leaves down at the base, and then it put out all this vine and you can see all the parts where like the leaves just decided to fall off. But these are the leaves that it put out at the very tippy top of this vine. I am freaking obsessed with this leaf in particular, and like this like speckly splash that's all over it. I just stare at this leaf all the time. It's so cute. It looks really ridiculous, but if I had a little trellis, I could get it to look like this, and it would look really cute. I don't really know. Obovata is a little bit finicky for me. Not the regular one, just this variegated one. I find that it's constantly trying to put out foliage, but those leaves just never really want to stay on. They always keep falling off, and I don't know. Oh, it's a little bit underwater. I think I do want to get this one in no drainage and get it repotted, but I wanted to show this leaf because it's just unbelievably adorable. I wasn't really expecting this plant to become like splashy like this. The lower leaves aren't really that speckly, and the import leaves certainly aren't very speckly at all, so I was very pleasantly surprised to see how adorable this looked. Another one that's grown a lot. This is one of my all-time favorite Hoyas. It's really dusty. I'm gonna try to wipe it off a little bit. I've shown this in a bunch of Hoya videos. Like, pretty much every Hoya video I've done, I've shown this Hoya villosa. It's my favorite fuzzy leaf Hoya. It's just like, it's veiny, it's kind of like structured looking, it's shiny, and it's so soft and like incredibly fuzzy. It's such a nice Hoya. So when I first showed it, it was kind of like these leaves here. Maybe not even the one at the very top, it was just like the 3 or 4 at the bottom. I said it was a fairly like steady grower and it's fairly easy grower, but it wasn't like an insanely fast grower for me. But then like after it got into the cabinet and then I was spraying it with the orchid spray and everything, it's grown all this since then. Yeah. All this growth happened in the span of about 2 or 3 months. So I don't know what to do with all this vine. It's kind of like tucked into a corner and it's growing along the corner of the cabinet and coming around the top. I do think this needs a trellis. I just don't know how I would kind of situate it. Like, I don't know, like this? Is that what I would do? Or I could just chop it up again into pieces and make a full pot or something. If you don't already have this Hoya, but you like these kind of succulent and fuzzy leaves, how cute are these leaves? They're so just juicy, and they remind me a little bit of coffee leaves. And the backs of them, I always say they feel like My Little Ponies because they're really very like just super velvety soft. It's another Hoya that really ticks off a lot of boxes for me because it just has like characteristics that I love in so many Hoyas. Like the leaves are very dark and the venation is really striking. And just the shape of them, they're a little frilly, and how glossy they are. What is this? I think I just broke off a baby leaf. God. Oh, I definitely broke off a baby leaf. Look, there's sap. I just wanted to show how much it's been growing. It hasn't been repotted or anything. It's been in the same like pot with a little cutout plastic at the bottom. Sprayed with orchid spray, got great white. It's the same thing for all of these Hoyas. It's just really loving life in the cabinet right now. So yeah, tons of new growth on the villosa. I just don't know what I'm gonna do with this at this point. I got sap on my fingers. Okay, this next one I got from Northern Tropicals. I don't think I've shown this on my channel. This one I picked up, and this is a crassipetiolata splash. It's very adorable. I got this maybe a month or so ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. Perlite. At the time it was 2 leaves, and it's been 2 leaves up until this morning, and a leaf fell off as I was bringing it over to show you. And I'm pretty certain it's underwatered. But I had a quick check of the roots, and I do see roots, and I did just water it before filming. Yeah, we got It was an unrooted cutting when I got it, but it did root in my carriage, not a ton of roots. And I saw that it was starting to poke out growth here, like all that is new. I just think that I underwatered it a little bit and it aborted this leaf that was here. I do have hopes for this one. I don't think it's like a super finicky Hoya, and it's really, really adorable. I think it's, yeah, I'm excited to see what it does, but it started to die very recently, maybe just this week when I forgot to water the cabinet. So just wanted to do a quick update of this one because I had never shown it on my channel before, and I'll definitely check back with growth updates once this one gets going. Or it might die. Another one I got from Northern Tropicals, I did show, I did show this in a haul video. This is my Hoya finlaysonii. So I definitely fell in love with it because of these like chubby, round, veiny leaves, like this one here. Every time I see it in a store, I always like gravitate towards it and I always pick it up. This leaf was grown in like slightly lower light in my cabinet. And then this leaf, which is still growing, it's like still really paper thin and soft. That one is much larger, much darker. And I showed another plant from her shop where the new leaf, actually Charmaine picked up this plant. The new leaf looks absolutely nothing like the old leaves, which is just so cool. So I was excited to show this one too, because I didn't know that like it could look like this. When I thought of Hoya finlaysonii, I always thought about like kind of leaves like this, or leaves that look more similar to the callistophylla, and I never really like pictured dark, glossy, like super dark with splash. That's not the finlaysonii that I would picture. So I think I kind of like it more as like the lower light kind of presentation of this plant. So I might just keep growing it in lower light because it just grows like larger leaves, and you know how I feel about larger leaf Hoyas. So yeah, I just want to show an update on that one really quick. Okay, let's do another sad one. Sorry, really quick. I need to open a new case on BeatStar. Okay. A sad update. Those of you who have watched older Hoya videos would have seen my Hoya HO74. So it was growing really well for me for a really long time. It was getting super splashy. I had some leaves that were almost fully silver. It was growing on my living room shelf for a long time, and I recently, I later moved it into my cabinet. For a really long time though, it was growing on my shelf in just living room conditions. And then I cut the top of that plant for Charmaine's mom just to give her a cutting. And then this is not related to cutting it, but ever since then it's been doing so awful. It got root rot. So this is what it looks like now. I noticed it got root rot because this bottom leaf down here got all brown. And then I picked it up out of the pot, and then it had like all these like mushy, stringy roots. One of the newer leaves was also getting kind of like that. It's just not looking so good anymore, and it hasn't grown a leaf since then either, and I don't see any activated growth point either. Not really rooting either. This one definitely needs to be rehabbed. I don't know what to do with it. I did repot it and I got rid of like a lot of dead roots, but I don't see much root growth, and I think there's even more root rot now of old roots that are just now being shed. So the funny thing is that like it's not like wrinkly or soft, so I feel like there must be live healthy roots in there somewhere, and I don't think it's deteriorating anymore. It's just not looking as good as it used to. So this one's kind of a little bit of a sad story. I find this to be a easy Hoya. Like it took a really long time for it to get established, and then once established, it just started growing like crazy, and it just wouldn't stop. And then I cut it and I got root rot, and now I feel like I have to restart this like rerooting process. And then once it gets started again, it'll just be fast again. So I'm fairly certain it's going to survive, but it's just not in its best place right now. We'll get there one day, I think. 4 more. I've been trying to go through this list so much faster because I have 15 plants and I usually only show like 8 or 10 plants. So this is my reverted Hoya Wilbur Graves. So this, sorry. I keep dropping perlite on Huxley's head and he just went somewhere else to sleep. So this is my Hoya Wilbur Graves, which has reverted, so it's just like a lightly speckled, and it used to be really highly splashed Russian Wilbur Graves, but now it's just a cute carnosa with nice splash. The newest leaves are a little bit bigger, and these are still growing a little bit, but all the leaves look pretty much exactly the same, just in various sizes. I do still really love it. I still want a Wilbur Graves, but this one also ticks a lot of the boxes for me too, because it's like very round, it's very succulent. These leaves like are freaking rock hard. They're super thick. Like I don't have a, I don't think I have any other carnosa varieties. I don't have like a Crimson Queen or Crimson Princess. I don't have like regular green carnosa or anything. This is the only one I have. And to my knowledge, I think this is like a lot smaller leaf and like a lot rounder than regular carnosa. So I do really love this plant, and it took a little while for it to get going, but now I think it's growing a lot faster now. Again, everything, the care, everything, conditions, the feed, the substrate, it's the same for all my Hoyas. And this one obviously needs a trellis as well. I need like 50 trellises, to be honest. This one has the potential to look so cute on a trellis. Oh my goodness, that looks so cute. So I just want to show this Hoya because I don't really show this on my channel, and it is very cute. I just don't think anyone really cares about a carnosa looking like this, but I think it's very, I just find it to look like such a polite looking, like cute little Hoya. Just never say a bad word. It never cuts in line, and it always, you know, it always tips nicely, brings a gift for the host, and it would never say a bad word about anyone kind of Hoya. Just a nice, gentle, lovely, pleasant Hoya. Okay, I think I have 3 more. Let's do a big one. So this one is my Hoya macrophylla, question mark. Macrophylla is what I imported it as. I don't think this is the appropriate name for it anymore, but it's grown so much since I last showed it on my channel, I feel like. Or at least the leaves that it's put out have been quite large. I'm fairly certain that when I showed it, it was like these ones down here. It hasn't put out many leaves, I'll be honest. It hasn't put out that many leaves, but this leaf I've been obsessed with. This one's been growing in my cabinet as well, like up a corner. So it's quite a heavy plant, and it kind of just, I just kind of tuck it into the corner, so it kind of just does this on its own, and it's supported by the corner of the cabinet. And it's just been fairly easy going. It's really root bound in this pot at this point. I think it's been growing in this pot for about a year or so, and it's really filled this out, and I think it's happy to be like that. I think this is called latifolia. Like I think all the macrophyllas are just called latifolia now. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know I'm not wrong because Jing told me that, and she's never wrong. So this is the leaf I really wanted to show, is this big fat juicy one. I'm just trying to show you for a leaf size what that looks like. It's like the size of my hand, and it's really dark and lush. And I don't know why it's so dark, because it's quite close to the grow lights, but it grew this nice dark leaf, and it's really juicy. It's definitely cuter than the older leaves. Like I do like this plant when it's smaller like this here, but this is the kind of Hoya that I like. Just really fat and slabby. I have all these cuttings of this plant that I haven't done anything with. I haven't gifted them, I haven't sold them. They're kind of just sitting there and being underwater all the time, and I don't want to propagate for no reason anymore. So I'm just gonna allow this plant to grow large, and if it outgrows the space it's in, it's getting chopped, and that's how I'm gonna maintain this plant. But yeah, that's the one big Hoya that I kind of have. Like it's probably the biggest Hoya I have. Like, in terms of like space that it takes up, this is probably the largest one I have, which is not large by any means, but it is, I like how it makes that corner of the cabinet a lot more like leafy and kind of wild looking. This next one is kind of happy and sad at the same time. This is my Hoya SP Aceh. It's been underwatered a couple of times. This is one of those Hoyas I feel like that doesn't really forgive you if you underwater it. It's not as succulent as other ones. It's a little bit more like soft leafed Hoya. I might be wrong, but that's just how I feel about it. It used to be in moss, It was rooted in moss and I moved it into pond. That moss had dried out at one point, and that's when this browning began, this original brown right here in the tip. So I was like, oh crap. So I moved it into pond. I kind of had to reroot it from scratch because a lot of the roots came off when I was taking the moss off. It's since rooted in this pond. It's hanging near to the top of the Milsbo cabinet, really close to the light. And it's just putting out this leaf right here. Trying not to get the reflection from the sun. It's still brand new, super fresh, expanding a lot. So I'm really excited to see what this grows into. And I'm actually very pleasantly surprised that it started growing so quickly, because my expectation was that with like a very, very large leaf Hoya like this, it would take quite a long time for it to kind of store up the energy to then put out a leaf, knowing that the leaf is going to be really big. It's like, isn't it true that like smaller leaf Hoyas tend to grow a lot quicker than the larger leaf ones because there's just like less energy and nutrients and resources needed per leaf because they're so small. So I was really pleasantly surprised that this one put out a leaf so soon after rerooting into a brand new substrate. So there's that one. I'll definitely provide updates when this one grows out, because this was one of my favorite large leaf Hoyas ever. And also, this is not the SP Aceh, I think, that is commonly sold. I think it's just some random Hoya with no ID that is collected from the province or region of Aceh. So if you are looking for one, I know that Jing has them from time to time, but if you look up the hashtag on Instagram, it's not necessarily going to be this species, if that makes sense. That said, all the other ones also look really, really beautiful, so like very large leafed and really pretty and veiny. So I don't think you can really go wrong with any of them anyway. So yeah, I just wanted to do a quick like semi update on this one, and more updates to follow when this one grows out, because that one I think is going to be an absolute stunner. So this last one, I feel like you guys are already gonna know which one I'm gonna do. I can't do a growth updates video without it. Definitely not a Hoya growth updates video without talking about this plant. I actually found footage of when I first ever showed this on my channel, back when it was still technically a one leafer with two leaves kind of emerging. That was, I believe, let me see. So that was 3 months ago, roughly 3 months ago. And I've shown so many updates on my New Guinea ghost since then, and I just wanted to show it again. So here she is. First of all, there's more leaves, and it started putting out this long vine. No new leaves on the vine yet, but it started to focus more growth points down here. So this is even like fuller than ever. There's all these new leaves coming in right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 leaves.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There are 5 leaves growing at the base right now, and I think it's about to put out more growth on this vine. So I think it's going to be the point where I'm going to have to chop it at some point, or get it onto like a crazy trellis, because it's out of control. This is like 3 months of growth and it just will not stop. This is one of the Hoyas that dries out constantly. I have to water it all the time. I probably should be watering it like every 5 days or so, because that's how quickly it dries out. And like, granted, the pot is really small, but it definitely doesn't appreciate being dried out. But luckily, you can really tell just by looking at the plant that is dried out, because the surface of the leaves end up looking quite wrinkly. So right now it's not super dry, so you can only see the wrinkles if I bend the leaves. But when it's thirsty, you can just look at the leaf and see like faint wrinkles across the top, and you know it definitely needs water at that point. I'm really happy that like at the top of the plant where it's closer to the grow light, we're finally getting that purpley pink sun stress at the margins. All I wanted was that purple tint, and we finally got some at the very, very, very tippy top of the plant. It's almost touching. It's like inches away from the grow light, and it's not the strongest grow light ever, but it had to be really, 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 really close in order to be able to get even just this much pink on it. I'm not a huge fan of sun stress in general. Like, I think a lot of Hoyas actually look better without the sun stress. Like, sometimes that red blush just doesn't really complement the plant that much, in my opinion. But this is one of the ones where I really, really love the sun stress, because it's just such a beautiful purpley pink color in contrast with like that bluey greeny silver of the leaf. It's just absolutely stunning. I love this Hoya so much. It's just doing so amazingly well. So if you're looking for a Hoya that's faster growing, because I feel like a lot of people are put off by Hoyas by potentially how slow growing they can be. There are a few Hoyas I can definitely recommend. So obviously I would recommend this one as a fast growing one. Hoya polyneura is a fast growing one for me, and Hoya linearis. Those three are probably the ones that are just like, you blink and you miss some growth updates kind of Hoyas. They just grow super, super fast. Oh, also Hoya sigilladus I found to be super fast growing as well. I used to really like it, and now I'm just kind of like very meh about it. But definitely, if you're not super into Hoyas because you find them like succulents and they just like sit there and do nothing and never grow, get this one. You will not be disappointed. You sleepy boy. Huh? All right, guys, that is it for me today. I didn't get super deep into all the Hoyas and the care and everything, just because I had a lot and it's really hot in this room, and it's just like simply a growth updates video. So if you have any questions about how I'm growing the Hoyas and things that I didn't quite answer in this video, feel free to leave in the comments. I feel like I just don't put that much thought into my Hoya care, so there's just not that much to kind of explain about how I'm growing the Hoyas. It's just very visual for me. Like, I love this Hoya. This leaf is so cool. Like, what a weirdo plant. So yeah, just to sum up, it's like they all live in the cabinet. It's very warm. There are 20-watt grow lights on them. They get sprayed with Miracle-Gro orchid spray. They get the great white. They get fertilized with a mixture of liquid gold leaf, MSU, CalMag, and sometimes Dynagrow Foliage Pro, I think it's called. And they pretty much all live in pond, and that's pretty much a kind of one-size-fits-all care routine I put in with my Hoyas. So anyways, that's it from me. It is so hot in here. I need to go chug a glass of water. Thank you guys so much for watching another video. I hope you enjoyed it. I also hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.